Hello. Today we'll be discussing muscle contraction. We start with a nerve impulse reaching the axon terminal and end with the re-energizing of myosin after a single power stroke. The first step in muscle contraction is when the motor neuron or nerve impulse fires down to the axon terminal. From there, the neurotransmitter acetylcholine comes into play. The axon terminal releases the acetylcholine into the synaptic cleft. The acetylcholine then needs to bind to receptors located at the junctional folds found on the sarcolemma. We aren't done with acetylcholine yet. We need it for one more step. The acetylcholine causes depolarization called DEP, or end plate potential. Then we move on to part 2, muscle fiber excitation. The depolarization causes an action potential or impulse in an adjacent sarcolemma. Then we move on to part 3, excitation, contraction, coupling. The action potential moves down to the T-tubules. As a result, the sarcoplasmic reticulum releases the calcium ions. The calcium binds to troponin, which moves the tropomyosin to reveal a myosin-binding sites on actin. The fourth step is the cross-bridge cycle. The cycle begins by forming the cross-bridge. The energized myosin then needs to attach to an actin myofilament. The next step in the cycle is the power stroke. Adenosine diphosphate and phosphorus release after the connection. The head of myosin pivots and bends. This leads to a low energy state. Then the actin filament is pulled toward the end line. Next, the product ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, attaches to the myosin. The myosin and actin bond begins to weaken to eventually detach. This leads to the final step of re-energizing the myosin. Myosin has to hydrolyze ATP back to ADP and phosphorus. After that, it returns to high energy state, putting the myosin in the ready position. This concludes the process of muscle contraction. Thank you.